In this segment of our Bible study on Bible interpretation and Bible prophecy, we're going to be looking at the rebuilt temple in Jerusalem. That is the temple that the futurists say must be rebuilt sometime in the future in Jerusalem. Is this true? Does the Bible actually teach that? Or is this something they've imposed on Scripture? We're going to answer that question in this study. We're going to look at the texts that they primarily use, and we're going to discover some very interesting things about how they use these texts. And I think if you're objective and you read the text carefully yourself, you will see that the futurists do not really have a basis for their argument. In fact, the futurist must bring their presuppositions to the table. That is, they must first decide in their mind that their future temple and their future Antichrist doctrines are true and biblical. With that in their mind, they then read these following texts as though those texts prove their presuppositions, when in fact, any honest student of the Bible and Bible interpretation who reads these verses in their plain sense will find nothing of a future rebuilt temple, nor will they find anything that talks about a future Antichrist rising up at the end of the age just before Christ returns. They will find none of that in these verses. Yet the futurist will turn to these verses and insert all their speculations as though it's biblical fact. So let's begin with Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. The text reads, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand, that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and rebuild Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, and not for himself and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So let's look at verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. The first point of interest is the phrase 70 weeks. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. It is generally agreed that 70 weeks refers to weeks of years, and we need not get into that for the sake of this conversation regarding the rebuilt temple. But it is important to acknowledge that the futurist, upon seeing the term 70 weeks, immediately splits that into 2 segments. One segment of 69 weeks. The futurist then inserts a period of time, indefinite in length, before the 70th week is fulfilled. Now I challenge my listeners to find a gap in that 70 weeks. Upon plain reading, even a grade school child will not insert a gap between the 69th and 70th weeks. They will read it in its plain sense. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. There is no reason, contextually, to insert a gap. Yet that is the first thing the futurist will do. It's not written there, but they bring that presupposition to the table. That way they create a huge gap of time, then in some way justify pushing a whole bunch of prophecies off into the distant future. If they don't put a gap there, their house of cards comes down very quickly. It begins to crumble. And we can see from the text that it's very clear that this 70 weeks is to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness. Now, if that doesn't describe